the wisdom of a 13-year-old, seventh grader. And now let me introduce to you our fourth student, and that would be Younique Wethington. Come on up, Younique. Younique is a student at Pioneer, right? So both high schools are represented today. Younique?
Hello, my name is Younique Wethington. I'm a freshman at Pioneer High School. Today, I am happy to tell you about the greatest demonstration of freedom there is yet to be. Over 7 score years ago, our President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Back then, Abe sent our country into its true word to be a free nation. However, 155 years later, the African Americans still aren't free. We are here today to discuss this matter and ascertain that our country is meant to be free. America promised in the Constitution, all men are created equal, that they're endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Yet, America broke this promise and made it unfair to the people of color. Now is the time to restore that promise and treat everyone as people. We are citizens, and we deserve to be treated as citizens. Though some may note, when will you be satisfied? They ask for our satisfaction, yet we will never be satisfied as long as our people face the horrors of police brutality. We will never be satisfied, for we are identified for being from the ghetto and being stolen our rights, just by the signs stated, whites only. No, we aren't satisfied until justice is brought to us like a mighty dream. I'm aware that some of you came from all around. My friends, you're the veterans of suffering. Continue to be faithful, as that unearned suffering isn't fair. Go back to where you came from, and don't lie in depression, as this situation will get changed. Even though we still go through all this, I still have a dream. A dream that is connected to the American dream. I have a dream that this nation will be its true self, as we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that descendants of former slaves and slave owners will be able to correspond together and be brothers and sisters. I have a dream that America won't judge the children of the color of their skin, but the content of their character. I have a dream that the Lord's glory will be revealed and that all shall unite together. This is our hope. With this faith, we'll be able to work together, go to jail together, and fight for freedom together, knowing that one day we'll be free. Where this land of pride, from every mountainside, let freedom ring. To who we say we are, this must become true. So let freedom ring from California, Georgia, and New Hampshire. Let freedom ring, and when we allow freedom to ring from every inch of soil in this nation, the day will come that black men and white men will join hands and sing the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, great God Almighty, we are free at last.
I can have the three of you come on up here with Younique. These 4 students are impressive, ladies and gentlemen. They're a product of our own schools. You can tell your teachers when you go back, the mayor gave you an A for your class, all right? Round of applause for these girls. And now I'm going to have our next guest speaker, Dr. John Jackson. Dr. Jackson. And I'm going to have Dr. Jackson introduce himself as well as he has a special guest here as well.
Be happy to introduce myself. I've been in Woodland for over 20 years. My name is Dr. John Jackson. I worked for 31 years for the California Department of Corrections and Rehab. I was an education administrator. I'm an alumni of UC Davis. I get a headache every time I think about it. My wife is in the audience. She's a retired math teacher. And we're from Mississippi. Pray for us. I haven't gotten over that yet. And my speech today is about why America needed Dr. King. A lot of the end of the baby boomers claim to not know. The millennials and the younger generation really don't know. And my wife and I lived in a part of America that was apartheid. And I mean it in every sense of the word. And I'm going to talk about that a little because that is the kind of stuff that should be taught in our classrooms. If all of us knew more about each other and we start talking to each other, we wouldn't have all this foolishness going on. Because if one person is mistreated, all of us are mistreated. And we have some people in very high places that don't seem to understand that. I feel so bad. I felt so bad when I saw the little Hispanic girl on TV in Mississippi. She came home and all of her parents were in jail. And she was crying, talking about her daddy was a good man and he didn't do anything. That is ridiculous. That should never happen in this country. One of them could have been at least like they did the lady that was on TV. They let her go to jail for a while. They let her out, then they put her husband in jail. That kind of stuff. But what I'm going to talk about is why America needed Dr. King and what happened. And then I'm going to tell you how things were part of my life growing up in Mississippi. Mississippi was the worst state in the world. I don't mean in America, the world, to me. And when you have to have your mother sit you down as an 8-year-old and tell you your country doesn't love you, doesn't want you, and you're going to have to make it on your own, and you're going to have to be very good at whatever you do. Now, before I get started, we lived in a little shack. Sometimes you could see through the floor. We had no running water, no electricity. Our bathroom was outhouse. That's how we grew up. But what I'm so proud of is what she said to me. She said, you can never let anyone determine what you're going to be. You go do it. Don't wait for anyone to do it. You do it. And that is exactly what happened. I started school. The first day of school, I was put in the 3rd grade. We didn't have no TV, so we read a lot. She had all these books from her maid job. They were giving them to her, and she was teaching us. She had an 8th grade education and helped me do my work in the 12th grade. She would get our books and teach herself. She was a good student. I finished college at 19. I started at 16. I was out in 3 years because I was so poor I couldn't afford to go a 4th year. I went to summer school every year. Now I'm going to get to why America needed Dr. King. After the Civil War, where a lot of men killed each other, and basically after the Civil War, it turns out they all felt the same way about us. It doesn't matter where we lived, whether it was New York, Florida, or California. There were certain places in the cities that we could not live. And you hear people talking about the South and they act like LA was the same way. There's a place between upstate New York and Canada that is said to be worse than Alabama. At any rate, when Dr. King started his movement, he was trying to fix what the government wouldn't fix. During Reconstruction, we got a president named Andrew Johnson. He was a segregationist. If you don't know what a segregationist is, he believed in white power, white only. And he said openly, the government of America is for whites only. And America went backward. During Reconstruction, the Klan was formed. The world's greatest terrorist group was formed. And they were formed to keep us in line. And they had several good tactics that they used: lynching, bombing, and burning. They would bomb our churches, bomb our homes, kill whole families. In my state, it was a death sentence to inquire about registering to vote. Imagine that. In America. And the government knew about it, but they did nothing. They were able to run wild in America from 1865, the KKK, until 1965, and then things started kind of slowing down. But a lot of the people involved with them were law enforcement. And I'm not disparaging any law enforcement people here, but you have to hear the truth. They would lock up a black man, let him out of jail, and then go stop him and help kill him with the Klan. You remember those civil rights workers that were killed in Mississippi in '64? The person that stopped them was a deputy sheriff. And he helped kill them, and he helped bury them, and he helped hide them. These are the kinds of things that kept Dr. King going. If you think about our educational system back then, my mother's education stopped at the 8th grade because there was no high school. And it was that way pretty much all over the South. And you've heard of historically black colleges that saved our race. The historically black colleges, I graduated from one, was formed to ensure that blacks or Negroes got high school diplomas, vocational training, and college degrees. Donald Trump cut the funding for them. He wanted to shut them all down. He said it was discriminatory. Imagine. But that's okay. After that, a lot of blacks started becoming educated. And we had someone to look up to because of Dr. King. Now, while I was in college, I got 2 educations at the same time. I was going to college and getting my regular education, and I was getting a black history education. And I wanted to learn everything that I could about my race. And as I learned, the more depressed I became. In 1896, there was a decision by the Supreme Court. It was called the Plessy versus Ferguson case. That is the case that cemented Jim Crow all over America. It said that it was okay to treat us separately and equal, but the other part of it is unequal. It wasn't equal. We don't want to get that wrong. It was separate and unequal. We had to ride at the back of the bus. We had to go to restaurants through the back door. And I always laugh when I think about it. The cooks in the restaurant was black. How stupid is that? You don't want us to come through the front door to eat, but you're going to let the cooks that feed you be black. You're blessed that I wasn't the cook. And then on trains, we had a colored car. That's where all the Negroes had to ride. If they didn't have any room on that car, you didn't get to ride. The bathrooms were always filthy. You could see the sign. And I'll tell you a little story about my life when I finish this. One of my mentors, her name was Dr. Juanita Curtis. She was my mentor. And she told me a story that it took me a long time to get over. She said during World War II, she was on a train ride in Arizona. They had a white section on the train, a black section, and a section for the German prisoners, the POWs. They fed the whites, fed the Germans, and let the blacks go hungry. This is true. I'm still shocked sometimes by what I see. I can't believe that in 2020 we are having the issues that we are having. And they're coming from the top down, not from the bottom up. We all want to get together. We all want to get along. We know that if I fail, you fail. And I don't care what color you are. When I was a young kid, I was an 8-year-old kid, I was an absolute racist. And I mean it. If you were white, don't bother me. Because that's what happened. When you keep feeding an environment that's full of evil, little children become racist.